It was the beginning of autumn in a quiet town called Maple Hollow in Canada, a peaceful place surrounded by forests and cold winds. Sarah and her husband, Mark, had recently moved into a small wooden house at the edge of the town with their 8-year-old daughter, Lily. They had moved from Toronto to escape the noise of the city and start a calm new life. The house was old but charming, with a fireplace, creaky floors, and a small attic filled with dusty boxes left by the previous owners. Everything seemed normal for the first few days. Sarah loved decorating the house, Mark worked from home, and Lily spent her time exploring her new room in the backyard. One evening, while cleaning the attic, Sarah found an old wooden chest pushed into a dark corner. The chest was heavy and locked, but when Mark helped her open it, they found inside some old clothes, faded photographs, and a small, strange-looking doll wrapped in a red cloth. The doll had big, round eyes, sharp little teeth, and a mischievous smile. Its body was covered in soft fur like a toy animal, but its face looked oddly human. On the tag around its neck, it said, "Labubu." Lily's eyes sparkled when she saw the doll. "Can I keep it, Mom?" she asked excitedly. Sarah hesitated for a moment. Something about the doll felt odd, almost unsettling, but she didn't want to scare her daughter. So she smiled and said, "Sure, but make sure you take good care of it." That night, Lily placed the Labubu doll on the shelf beside her bed. At first, everything was fine, but after a few nights, strange things began to happen. Sarah started hearing small footsteps running in the hallway after midnight, even though Lily was asleep. Sometimes the sound was light, like a child running. Sometimes it was heavy, as if someone was dragging their feet. When she checked, the hallway would always be empty. One morning, Sarah went into Lily's room and saw the Labubu doll lying on the floor facing the wall. "Did you drop it?" she asked. Lily frowned and said, "No, Mom. It was on my bed when I went to sleep." Sarah placed it back on the shelf, thinking maybe Lily moved it in her sleep. But the next day, the doll was in a different position again, this time sitting near the window. It was like someone was moving it during the night. Sarah didn't mention it to Mark at first, thinking she was overreacting, but the strange events continued. One evening, while Mark was working late in his home office, Sarah heard Lily talking upstairs. She thought her daughter was on a video call with her friends, but when she went to check, she saw Lily sitting alone on the floor, facing the Labubu doll, whispering softly. "Who are you talking to, sweetie?" Sarah asked. Lily turned around and smiled. "I'm talking to Labubu. He said he used to live here before we came." Sarah froze. "What do you mean he used to live here?" she asked. Lily shrugged. "He said his friend doesn't like when people take his things." Sarah's heart started pounding. She gently took the doll away and said it was bedtime. That night, she locked the doll inside a box and placed it in the attic again. But at around 3 a.m., Sarah woke up to the sound of the box opening. She went upstairs, shaking with fear, and saw the attic door slightly open. The box was still there, but the doll was missing. The next morning, Sarah found the doll sitting on the kitchen table. She was sure she had locked it away. When she asked Mark, he said he hadn't touched it. Lily just smiled and said, "Labubu wanted breakfast." Mark laughed it off, saying Lily just had a big imagination, but Sarah couldn't shake off the fear. That night, they decided to keep the doll in the living room so they could both see it. Around midnight, Mark heard tapping sounds on the window behind him. When he turned around, there was no one there, only the reflection of the doll in the glass. He picked it up, looked at its strange, smiling face, and muttered, creepy thing." Then he placed it on the couch and went upstairs. But when he reached the bedroom, he froze. The doll was already sitting on his side of the bed. Sarah screamed when she saw it. Mark swore he didn't bring it upstairs. He threw the doll into the closet and locked the door. They didn't sleep that night. The next few days were filled with tension. The lights in the hallway flickered randomly. The house alarm went off for no reason. Sarah heard whispering sounds in the kitchen when no one was there. Sometimes Lily would wake up crying, saying that Labubu didn't like being locked away. "He said he wants to play outside tonight," she would sob. Mark started to believe something was wrong. He decided to do some research about the doll. He found out that a family had lived in the same house almost 20 years ago. They had a son named Owen who disappeared mysteriously one night. The police never found him. The only thing left in his room was his favorite toy, a Labubu doll. After that, the house remained empty for years. Mark felt cold sweat on his forehead. He didn't tell Sarah everything, but she could see fear in his eyes. That night, Mark decided to throw the doll away. He drove out of town and tossed it into a river near Maple Lake. When he came home, he felt relieved. But the next morning, when Sarah opened the front door to get the newspaper, the doll was sitting on the porch, soaking wet, staring right at her. She screamed and dropped the paper. Mark couldn't believe it. He burned the doll that night in the backyard while Sarah and Lily watched from inside. The flames grew high, and the smell of burnt fabric filled the air. The doll twisted and cracked in the fire. Mark felt like they were finally free. But the next morning, there were ashes scattered near the back door, and among them was the red cloth that once wrapped the doll, untouched by fire.